Come into the room, guys. We'll be getting started pretty soon. Welcome to another edition of Gavin Reshaw Presents here on my channel, GBook2786. We'll be getting started shortly, guys. I actually just got some news. I got off the phone with Judge Arthur Hunter, who was supposed to be our guest for the day. We were trying to reschedule doing this interview, and I got notice that. Hold on, let me turn this off. Got to turn the music off for a second. Excuse me. All right, so I can talk better. So just letting you guys come on in. Our guest today was supposed to be Judge Arthur Hunter, who's running for a candidate of Orleans District Attorney. And unfortunately, again, he had to postpone this interview. I don't know what the issue was exactly, if he had a prior a prior meeting or something like that. But I apologize because this is the second time that this has happened. And I try to get you guys on here so you guys can actually hear, especially those that are in New Orleans, what they would like to hear from the local candidates, candidates for district attorney. And believe you me, we will have other guests that'll come on for the DA's office race and so forth as well, and other issues. So I wanted to, have him come on, but I apologize again for that, that this has happened, you know, continuously. But I will definitely, guys, keep you in the running for things that will happen. So we're going to take this day and this opportunity to make this about something a little different now. So let me remove this banner for a second. Just welcome everyone to another episode of Gavin Reshaw Presents here on my channel, GBook2786. Whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you're blessed and doing safe as always. If you'd like to donate to the channel, you can donate at the bottom at the links. Gavin Reshaw Esquire, that's the Cash App, or hit the Google Pay at gavin.grich1@gmail.com. And it also keeps the program going because I'm trying to update the show, the platform of it. Eventually, one day I would like to have my own studio where I do this stuff out. So that's something I'm thinking about. I'm also thinking of having some other guests come on face to face so we could do a podcast chat. But then again, maybe it's not best to do that since we're in the middle of COVID-19. It's just best to do things virtually now. This thing has changed the way we've looked at ourselves. It certainly has changed our lives as far as how we do business. Everybody now is just doing things virtually. So, having said all of that, we're going to go in and talk about some other issues. Something I wanted to discuss. This actually came up today. I'm just researching this topic. As you guys may know, I don't know if you guys have followed basketball and followed the NBA season and so forth. But I thought this was interesting because the other day, if you guys may not know, the Nets, and I don't, I don't really look to athletes and entertainers as leaders. You guys have heard me talk about this before, and the this past week, Steve Nash was hired as the Brooklyn. Is it the Brooklyn Nets? Yes, the Brooklyn Nets' new head coach. And of course, Steve Nash was a great NBA player, but he's not the first person I think about when you talk about the top 10 NBA players of all time. And Steve Nash was hired to as the new coach this week. They fired their previous head coach, And of course, Stephen A. Smith, and I don't really care for Stephen A. Smith too much, but he commented and called it an example of white privilege. Privilege. So what you have here is, hold on one second, excuse me. So what was interesting was that Charles Barkley, yeah, he's a good guy to quote. Charles Barkley actually clapped back at Stephen A. Smith for his comments. Now, when I look at, of course, someone like Charles Barkley and Stephen A. Smith's, this is the same Charles Barkley that got busted wearing a pink suit, trying to get a blowjob out of his car, and I believe during the NBA Finals. This is a guy who's made comments about how all cops are not bad. I'm not shooting people. I just think that's just ridiculous. Barkley, yeah, I mean, Barkley's always said stupid stuff, but there's a reason why he gets a platform. There's a reason why Stephen A. Smith gets a platform. Stephen A. Smith has said some stupid stuff too. Let's not forget. You know, I was with Stephen A. Smith at one time when he had his show, quite frankly, if you remember back in the early 2000s, and he was actually bringing on some good brothers like Boyce Watkins, Dr. Boyce Watkins. He actually brought on the air to do commentary about his book, If George Bush Was a Black Man. He had Damon Wayans on. He had Allen Iverson. That was the one interview everybody watched. He had, uh, his program just wasn't sports. And I thought Stephen A was that dude. But then you saw after he became a permanent host of First Take, permanent commentator with Skip Bayless back in, I would say around 2014, 2012, I might believe, when it was around that time when he got hired. I shouldn't say hired. He was always working with the network, but when he was there with the company, you notice he was saying slick shit about black people. Remember what he said about defending Mark Cuban when Mark Cuban talked about a black man in a hoodie versus a white man with tattoos. How he clapped back at um, Kevin Durant. You do not want it with me. You do not want it with me. But when that white woman, Michelle Beadle, who's no longer there, you know, uh, called him out over his comments with Ray Rice and his fiance, that video that was released, what did Stephen A. Smith do? He balled up like a little bitch, excuse the expression, like somebody had and grabbed his nuts, and he was, subservient. I was wrong. I made a mistake. You see, you say saying anything about black folks, you get away with it. But white folks, you got to sit back and apologize. Excuse me one second. Y'all, excuse me one second. Think it's something to match. Yeah, something to match. Sorry about that, guys. I apologize. So, where were we? All right, can y'all hear me? Okay. So sorry about that. Yeah, so you have a situation with Stephen A. Smith. You know, he, like I was saying again, he of course walked away like his nuts were tucked after Michelle Beadle called him out. And of course, I thought and listened to what Stephen A. Smith said when he was talking about the Ray Rice situation. I understood completely what he was talking about when he talked about girls, women in regards to domestic violence, how they should try to, stay away from a man when he's angry and upset, he was talking about how it's important not to instigate stuff. That's very true to a degree because a lot of domestic violence cases are started when a female, of course, will instigate an argument. Now, does that give a license for a man to touch a woman? Well, absolutely not. And the best thing I've told brothers, especially in those types of situations where you've are in a relationship with a female and something like that happens where she's abusive and she's loud and gets aggressive, the best thing to do is to walk away. Now, people don't necessarily follow that advice. I've seen situations where a man has been walking away and the woman still, swings on him and hits him. I've seen situations where women have actually grabbed weapons, you know, and actually tried to stab or hurt their their lover, their husband, their boyfriend. So those things do happen. A lot of people don't like talking about it because there's a perception among our country and in our society about men being stronger than women physically, and they should just walk away when things like that happen. But I know that sometimes that stuff is not easy to do, and it's a little more complicated than that. Now, I don't want you guys going on leaving your comments thinking that this is Gavin Reshaw defending domestic violence. It wasn't. But when that incident happened, and I remember when the Ray Rice situation happened, how Ray Rice's wife actually went to him at the NFL headquarters, and she was the one that had asked Roger Goodell to be light on her husband, and Ray Rice admitted all the stuff that he did to her. I'm recording, guys, but I'm sorry. In this part of the house, you can hear the grass man cutting my grass outside, so excuse me. But yeah, but I remember that, and then remember, getting back to Stephen A, they suspended him for 2 weeks. And when it comes to Barkley, if I get on him, remember Barkley. Um, of course, he has been in trouble with issues with the law, but they gave him a television platform recently, a couple years ago, after the Freddie Gray incident, where he went up there to talk about racial issues. Now, what does Charles Barkley have to say, or what is he going to say about race? What qualifies him to do that? Remember when Kenny Smith actually wrote a letter, open letter to Charles Barkley over his comments about Ferguson, and called Charles Barkley, one of the best power forwards of all time, the greatest power uh, forward of all time. Although, my guess I would have thought of Tim Duncan or Karl Malone, guys like that before I would say Charles Barkley. But Charles Barkley, of course, had that great year when he was the MVP of the league in the night, and I remember this clearly. He was the MVP for 2 years. Of course, he's a Hall of Famer, but they give Barkley, obviously, these platforms and Stephen A. these platforms because they're the ones that will talk down on their race. So it's funny when I see a Stephen A. Smith or a Charles Barkley try to become, you know, Martin Luther hairline, Martin Luther King, or act like Malcolm X from time to time when they see things like this, especially Stephen A. Smith. But they're all arguing about this coach is hiring now. Stephen A. Smith said the following. He says, "Ladies and gentlemen, there's no way around this in regards to Stephen Nash. This is white privilege. This does not happen for a black man," he said on ESPN's First Take on Thursday. "No experience whatsoever on any level as a coach, and yet you get the Brooklyn Nets job." Smith's summation of the situation, however, rubbed other commentators in the industry the wrong way, including Charles Barkley. The Inside the NBA analyst rebutted Smith's claim later Thursday, saying that he was disappointed that Nash's hiring became about white privilege. Barkley backed up his argument by pointing out there are other black and people of color coaches such as Doc Rivers, Jason Kidd, Derek Fisher, who received similar opportunities despite no head coaching experience. So I'm going to play the clip from TNT. Let's just hear what Charles has to say.
I was very disappointed at some of the guys on television today talking about white privilege. Very disappointed. They're like, well, this doesn't happen to black guys. And I'm like, well, it happened to Doc Rivers. It happened to Jason Kidd. It happened to Derek Fisher. So I was really, guys,
Isaiah Thomas.
yeah, I was really disappointed, guys. And Isaiah Thomas, not disappointed in Isaiah, but I just think when you have a responsibility, especially when you have to talk about something serious like race, you can't be full of crap. You got to be honest and fair. So listen, like I say, Steve Nash is a great player and a good dude, but I was so disappointed in some of these guys. I said, dude, black guys have done this before. Now, do we need more black coaches in the NBA? Yes. Do we need more black coaches in college football? Yes. Do we need more black coaches in pro football? Yes. But this wasn't the right time to shut it today. Good luck to Steve Nash.
How about black owners? What about a black-owned league? We don't hear things about that, though. So Barkley thinks Stephen A. Smith was wrong for saying this. And of course, Stephen A. Smith says he's not budging his stance on Steve Nash's hiring. Honestly, guys, I can tell you this. I just thought this was interesting because I've seen these two before and how they have acted, in the past in regards to in their relationship with black people in this country. And so to see them go back and forth over a hiring of a coach of one team, I thought was funny. We got 3 people in the chat. Why don't we shout them out? Shout yourself out. Say where you looking at the video from. If you got a comment, I'll go ahead and read it. I thought this was a little light to begin with because everything we've been dealing with death, we've been dealing with illness with this coronavirus thing. So I thought it'd be interesting to talk a little bit about sports. So, okay, no one wants to talk. All right, well, I'm just waiting for some comments, see if anybody had something to say. We got a few people that are watching. So, yeah, I thought, what do you guys think about this? You can check out the article here. This is from sportingnews.com. Where we were watching that clip of Charles Barkley. I'm gonna actually play Stephen A's clip in a second because we are going to move on to the next topic that's been going on. But that's actually the link to the article here. You could check out sportingnews.com US. Let's look at Stephen A. Smith's video because I want to just share it right quick. And of course, I got to do a little copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of Fair Use Doctrine that any videos and images that are used are not owned by me, but they are used in this video for purposes of commentary and criticism or news. So just want to say that for the record before I start this. So give me 1 second.
Have any more thoughts on the subject? Well, first of all, one of the things that I'm glad that this subject has been broached again. I spoke to Sean Marks, GM for the Brooklyn Nets this morning, because I wanted to make sure he understood exactly where I am coming from. And I mentioned white privilege yesterday. I have a message to those who feel that I was wrong, that I need to apologize, that I don't know what I'm talking about, et cetera, et cetera. I don't give a damn what y'all feel. Y'all can all kick rocks. I don't give a damn. I'm not budging from my position 1 inch. I called it white privilege yesterday. I'm calling it today. I'm going to call it white privilege a month from now, a year from now, 5 years from now. And you know why Stephen A. Smith, this brother, sitting on this platform can do that? Because I was doing it 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago.
See, he always thinks he's that dude. Oh, he mentioned Kevin Durant.
Was in elementary school. My position has been very, very clear. And for those out there, and this when Kevin Durant was in elementary school. My position has been very, very clear. And for those out there that don't comprehend, that don't understand where I'm coming from, when I'm talking about white privilege, my apologies to Steve Nash because it's not his fault. Good luck. I think he's going to do a great job. I'm happy for him because he's a good dude. Sean Marks, I think, is doing an exceptional job in Brooklyn. I wish him nothing but the best. But when I'm talking about white privilege, I am simply saying this man with no coaching resume whatsoever gets his first job as a coach in the media capital of the world, coaching a championship-ready squad led by one of the greatest players in the history of basketball in Kevin Durant and an absolute showstopper who is a box office attraction in Kyrie Irving, who happened to be the two preeminent voices on that squad who completely okayed bringing him on. Who are the brothers that were interviewed? Even if you don't hire them, can we know who they are? Did you talk to Ty Lue? Did you talk to Mark Jackson, who starred at Bishop Loughlin in high school, which is in Brooklyn, who starred at St. John's as a rookie? Who starred at St. John's University and then came to the Knicks as a rookie of the year, who's a Queens native, O'Connell Park. Look it up. Did you talk to him? Did you ask? All right, how about Sam Cassell? How about, listen, Bob McAdoo is a name. I mean, if we want to be fair, the brother's only been an assistant coach on Pat Riley's staff forever, and he's been in the league as an assistant coach forever, and the only interview he's ever gotten was from the Philadelphia 76ers. But Steve Nash, who we didn't even know was interested in coaching. We didn't even know he was interested in coaching until recently. Didn't even have to lobby for the job, and he gets picked as the head coach. My point about white privilege, tell me the black man that would happen for. No resume whatsoever as a coach at all. And you get a job of this magnitude. I'm not talking about Derek Fisher with the sorry New York Knicks at the time. I'm not talking about Jason Kidd, his first era with a rebuilding Brooklyn Nets squad or something along those lines. Not talking about Doc Rivers in Orlando. I'm not talking about those opportunities. I'm talking about championship ready, where it would be a shock if you don't win 50 games and you're not contending for a crown. Black folks with no resume getting a job like that. I have been covering the NBA for 25 years. I have been a journalist for 28 years. NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, college
Mouth
basketball,
is louder than two alpines,
football.
like Willie D said.
Brothers do not get those opportunities.
He's right about that, though.
That is what I'm talking about. And for people to compartmentalize it and to ask Sean Marks that question.
Let me mention this. He's basically saying Charles Barkley without saying Charles Barkley. Notice the names he mentioned: Doc Rivers, Jason Kidd, and who was the other one? But those are the same. Charles. I'll let him finish this right quick before we move to the next topic.
That ain't his problem. He's trying to make the Brooklyn Nets win. Steve Nash, what's he supposed to do? Turn the job down? Of course not. I'm not blaming them. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about us in this time of social justice, where white folks are sitting there telling us, we're listening. We hear you. Well, this is what you need to hear, because people weren't protesting in the streets just because black men who were unarmed were getting shot by police officers. They brought up systemic racism, systemic prejudice, meaning a system that flagrantly favors one segment of our society more than a disenfranchised community, and how it's been going on for centuries, and it never seems to stop. This is the latest that happens for white folks that would never happen for black folks. If you want to sit up there and point to Steve Nash or Sean Marks, you're missing the boat. It's not about them. It's about a system. And I'm looking at two brothers who are socially conscious, who care about us voting, who cares about racial oppression, racial inequality, and the civil unrest that has existed in this country. I'm seeing two brothers that had the opportunity to at least influence it somewhat in Brooklyn, New York, in KD and Kyrie. No, hi, Steve Nash. Go ahead. How about interviewing a few brothers and giving them an opportunity to get some shine? Therefore, they might be a prime candidate. It would have been nice. It didn't happen. That's something that happens for white folks and not us. There is no denying this. Y'all can act like y'all don't hear me. Y'all can misinterpret it all you want to. You can convolute the issue all you want to. Here's the beauty. Stephen A. ain't going no damn place.
All right, I had enough of that. So y'all heard that. So that was basically what Stephen A. Smith was complaining about with Charles Barkley. And you guys just leave a comment. Let me know what you think about that issue if you've seen that video. Now, let's get into something real serious. This is our last topic. This happened earlier this past Thursday. I noticed this and I thought this was interesting because I don't know what Xavier and Dillard were thinking about this. Now, I don't. For those of you who don't know, especially if you're not from the New Orleans area, uh, of course, with the COVID-19, we've been dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. People are starting to go back to school. So, two of the prominent historically black colleges and universities in this area, no disrespect to Suno, have sent the following letter out to their students, to their faculty and staff. Now, of course, y'all see my comment there, but I wanted to show you the letter that's right here. Now, this is a letter from the Xavier University president, C. Ronald Verrett, and Walter Kimbrough of Dillard University. So this is what they wrote. Dear students, staff, and faculty of Dillard and Xavier Universities, our communities have been hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic with harrowing consequences for the lives and health of our fellow citizens. Overcoming the virus will require the availability of vaccines effective for all people in our communities, especially our Black and brown neighbors. Okay, intersectionality. Phase 3 vaccine trials have begun across the nation, including in New Orleans. It is of the utmost importance that a significant number of Black and brown subjects participate so that the effectiveness of these vaccines be understood across the many diverse populations that comprise these United States. We, the presidents of Dillard University and Xavier, are always participating in the Ochsner Medical System's current vaccines trial. As part of the study, we have received our injections and have been monitoring and reporting any symptoms and side effects. Upon our enrollment, we were fully informed in any possible risks that would both well. We appeal to the students, faculty, staff, and alumni of Dillard, Xavier, and our sibling institutions to consider participating in this trial or others being conducted. As an example, our participants find ways to better fight the pandemic. Now, this is where it goes south for me. As presidents of HBCUs, we do recall unethical examples of medical research. We remember the Tuskegee syphilis study, which misused and caused harm to African Americans and other people of color, undermining trust in health providers and caretakers. Today, there are many regulations in place to assure the ethical execution of medical studies, including oversight by human subjects committees with diverse membership and participation of clinicians of color. Two of the leading physicians are Doctors Julia Garcia Diaz and Evans Laborde. We hope that you will consider enrolling. You may send an email to covidvaccine@oxnard.org or leave a message at 504-703-8283 to receive more information. We have before you we have before us a significant opportunity to serve and advance the cause for not just ourselves, but our sisters and brothers suffering from the effects of this virus on their families and communities. We are Dillard, we are Xavier, C. Reynold Verrett, and Walter Kimbrough. Now, that was bad. Okay, let me just tell you something. First and foremost, with vaccines and vaccinations, while I'm aware that there are trials that are done, to have a vaccine in place that is ready and safe usually has to, well, not usually, but it has to be approved by the FDA, the Federal Drug Administration. Now, I don't know the time limit on those, but I know that it can vary based on the amount of research. Just use your imagination based on the amount of research that has to be done. No nation has developed, and I know Russia claims to have developed the vaccine, but I don't know a nation that supposedly has developed a vaccine for COVID 19. Now, if you go to their website, the FDA.org, they have a list of different of different related information, especially on vaccines research. Uh, they have things on respiratory and special pathogens. They have a whole bunch of and these are all written by respective doctors. So, getting back to Xavier University and so forth, we don't know, number one, what type of vaccine. You mentioned yourselves that you two have taken the vaccine and said that we're okay. You've participated. That's fine. What does that have to do with the student body and the faculty? What does that have to do with them? If you did it as an individual, that's fine. Now, they're not forcing it onto the students, but the fact that they are mentioning it and putting out there is they are trying to encourage them at best to go in and do this and participate in this vaccination study. Now, where it went south for me, and I said it earlier, was when they mentioned the Tuskegee syphilis experiment. And those of you that know the history of that happened back in the 1940s, where they used black men virtually as guinea pigs, supposedly to test them with regards to syphilis treatment, but it was a syphilis study. And that went on. I said 1940s. It actually was in 1932 through 1972. Now, let me just show y'all before I pause on that moment. Let me just say this. I commented on this myself. I'm going to get back to the Tuskegee syphilis study in a minute, but I wanted to just share this while I have this thought and keep it in line. This is a comment I wrote. I asked them, "What are y'all smoking?" Xavier Dillard, as a member of a family that is filled with Xavier alumni, I have to ask you all, what in the world are you smoking? How can you try and suggest that students should enroll in an experimental vaccination that, to my knowledge, the United States does not even officially have? I don't know that. I know they do clinical studies and so forth, but I don't know that there was a vaccine trial or what vaccine that has been approved. Now, those things have to be approved by the FDA and they take time. And I said, this is irresponsible. I made the decision to go to Southern University, Baton Rouge, and now I don't regret it. And I don't. Um, you know, so Lisa Coleman, some people commented. Of course, I got like a lot of people that liked my comments, loved it. And of course, Lisa Coleman said this does not reflect the views of the students or alumni, so they don't like it. Uh, We've been ringing the alarm on these charlatan board members and president for 6 years now. Well, remember Norman Francis, and she says here, I promise you, this ain't the way Xavier rolled under Norman C. Francis. No, and Dr. Francis, I'm very sure would not have approved of something like this, if he, especially if he were president of Xavier University. Now, you just look at the comments. People are, I'm looking at this. People, I'm just looking at the replies to different people. Somebody wrote, Big Pharma has never been about saving lives. I'm an essential health professional who works with patients daily and had to practically slit her own wrist to get patients' needs met. United States healthcare is about money. Reimbursement is given for the stuff, including the testing. If they cared about the population, the government would have spread this in the first place. Too many U.S. parents on the coronavirus data years before the initial outbreak exists for anyone to sheepishly keep promoting they never knew of nothing of this. Know your history. They're telling Jada Rice know your history because she's. Uh, I won't say that she's. It sounds like she was supporting it just from looking at it. Some people didn't take her. Some people are laughing at her. Yeah. So somebody wrote, "Nah, you don't know. You probably boule." Why are so many people are upset at others for volunteering if they consent to do so? I'm confused. Anyone can participate if they want to. That's their right. People are not upset about one's choice to volunteer. People are upset that the insignia of affluent Anglo-Saxon universities aren't present as well. Be informed. Yeah, that's a very good point. You don't see. I have yet to hear if the president of UNO or the president of. I mean, I know it's not Baton, it's not New Orleans, but even LSU. I don't know why they're not mentioned in this letter. Why isn't Louisiana universities across the board supporting this? Yet in New Orleans, the two most prominent uh, educational institutes of all time, Xavier University, the country's oldest and only black Catholic high school. I'm sorry, Catholic University College. I said high school. What am I smoking? It's late, guys. It's been late for me. And Dillard University as well, out in Sugar Hill, prominent, in prominent black neighborhoods. Like I know, if you've been around Xavier, that's around Pigeon Town, and of course, Dillard University is around Sugar Hill, prominent black areas. So you have these universities that are supporting this study and doing all of this stuff, and we don't see any prominent white universities that are on there. So it leads us to be suspicious. And getting back to what I was saying with the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, okay, I've shown y'all this letter enough. Let me stop that and show you some information on it. That experiment lasted for over 40 years. And the only reason it stopped was because someone blew the whistle on it. It was Peter Buxton. He was the whistleblower. And that led to many changes in the U.S. law and regulation of protection of participants in clinical studies. They require informed consent, which is a process before getting permission before you conduct a healthcare intervention on a person or disclosing their personal information and so forth. Now, they could have treated in that experiment all syphilitic subjects and closed the study, or split off a control group for testing penicillin. Instead, they continued the study without treating any participants. They withheld treatment and information about it from the subjects. In addition, scientists prevented participants from accessing syphilis treatment programs available to other residents in the area. The study continued under numerous public health service supervisors until 1972, when a leak to the press resulted in its termination on November 16th of that year. These were all African American men who died of syphilis, 40 wives who contracted the including numerous men who died of syphilis, 40 wives who contracted the disease, and 19 children who were born with congenital syphilis. So this is something that affected children, their descendants, because that was passed on to them. Some of them were born blind with permanent with blindness. There were premature births. There were stillborns. If you look at, if you guys remember the old, and that took place in collaboration with with Tuskegee Institute. That's where the name came from, the Tuskegee syphilis experiment. You watch the movie Miss Evers Boys, that was based on that. That's starred Alfred Woodard. I remember that. Back in the day, HBO used to make some damn good movies, but they don't do that type of stuff anymore. Most of it is, is ridiculous when you see some of it. But HBO used to put out Black History movies all the time, and I remember the Tuskegee Airmen that came out in HBO like in 95, 96, if I'm not forgetting, with Lawrence Fishburne and Malcolm Jamal Warner and Alan Payne. I remember shows like that. I remember, and of course, I remember Miss Evers Boys, and that was popular back then as well. But and it won 4 Emmys, it seems. So, U.S. District. I'm just looking up public trust. The revelations of mistreatment under the U.S. Public Health System Service syphilis study at Tuskegee are believed to have significantly damaged the trust of the Black community toward public health efforts in the United States. You think? So when we have a prominent school like Xavier University doing this, mentioning that certainly sets and raises, especially when they had that in their letter, that set off alarm bells for a lot of people. And it was very disheartening that they would put something like that. So, guys, you let me know what you think. This is still an article on the Tuskegee syphilis experiment. You could go to Wikipedia and look it up. What are your thoughts on this? I tried to turn this event into a positive because I know we were waiting on, Judge Hunter to come on. And I know you guys were probably disappointed that he hasn't come on the show as of yet. I'm going to leave a link to this article. Again, I apologize for it. But I wanted to just still do something positive, at least to show you guys some various things and talk about stuff that's going on. But feel free to leave a comment and link when you see this video, guys. We'll be back for more episodes of Gavin Richard Presents. You can check out my podcast too, Gavin Richard Presents on Anchor. And subscribe to the channel if you're not on here already. You could subscribe to GBoo2786 and also to Gavin Richard. That's my other YouTube channel. And with that being said, guys, I am out. Have a blessed weekend and a good day. You will see more of me later. And I'll stay tuned. Peace.